Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep.
If there ever was a system that I absolutely did not utilize well, that would be the PSP. This first of two portable systems by Sony was powerful for its time with an annoyingly proprietary memory card. It also housed a number of games from core Sony series like Uncharted, as well as other series like Metal Gear Solid, and most importantly for me, a number of games in the Ys series. But I was terrible at playing and collecting games for the PSP. I only had 4 games for the system, with 3 of them Final Fantasies. And given what you clicked on here, yes, I had the original Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII for the PSP. The original title is a prequel that allows the player to experience the story of Zack, a tertiary character mentioned only in passing in the original Final Fantasy VII and seen in only a couple optional flashbacks. He's a lovable guy, often referred to as a himbo, which is a portmanteau of he/him and bimbo. However, the importance of him in Final Fantasy VII can't go unstated. He gave Cloud his life, both by saving it from Shinra troopers and also via emulation once Cloud arrives to Midgar. He also was the main person seen in the Nibelheim flashback in Final Fantasy VII. That's the one who Cloud originally and mistakenly puts himself in place of when he originally tells the party about it in Calm. He also was Aerith's first love and really helped to shape her overall personality as it appears in the original Final Fantasy VII. This original title of Crisis Core plays like an action RPG where the player controls only Zack. It changes up the formula from the ATB/turn-based battling from the original FF7. The battles themselves are pretty fun and done quite well, although timing is key to avoid taking severe damage during truly difficult fights. While the player battles, a digital mind wave or DMW slot somewhat randomly runs, which bestows buffs, powerful character-based limit breaks, summons once they are acquired, and even level ups. To this last point, this is the only way Zack can level up, though there is a hidden experience system that will result in the chances to level up increasing the more these hidden experience points also increase. Tough fights often appear as the bosses in the story, but most especially in the missions the game features. At any time, Zack can complete up to 300 total missions that appear whenever he reaches a save point. These can get kinda tedious, especially since it's essentially the same 6 or 7 maps, but with various points of it being restricted or shrunk down. The missions that are 7 or more out of 10 stars are by far the hardest, with enemies that surpass the last boss in power, HP, and difficulty. Rewards for beating these are even more powerful materia and ultimately a fight against a super boss named Minerva. The story itself can be sort of confusing, along with what I'd honestly call a cringy villain featured throughout the story named Genesis. Seriously, spouting the lines from the in-game's Loveless play and basing his degrading life on said play, it just never really landed with me. What did land quite well was seeing Zack go through all the story beats, as well as other new characters like the Turk Cisne, fellow soldier Kunsol, and a younger and slightly more doe-eyed Aerith. Seeing Sephiroth also act like a hero that he was always rumored to be before his mental breakdown in FF7 was really great to see as well. Beyond that, all the additional story elements felt superfluous in nature, with it being hard to care about Genesis or the experiment that created him from Shinra scientist Hollander. None of these names were ever mentioned in FF7, so these additions and other retcons, such as a nod showing Zack having a hand at naming Sector 7's bar 7th Heaven, seemed unnecessary by trying too hard to show how important a character Zack was. We already knew he was. They should have just focused on those aspects for him. Overall, I would probably give Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core for the PSP a 7 out of 10. Decent graphics, a fun and simple action RPG battle system, overall good characters with more characters being introduced that were interesting than those that weren't, frame a surprisingly good spin-off game for mainline Final Fantasy. But wait, this review shouldn't be about the original game, right? This is about the remaster released in December 2022. I mention everything with the original first because this original is what the remaster is based off of. Every bit of the story is based off of said original, up to and including facial expressions and even camera angles. And seriously, this is actually pretty cool. For an example of this, I'm going to include a link to the Digital Foundry review in the description, where they do a phenomenal job of showing original versus remaster comparisons among everything else great that they do. While all the story beats and camera angles are the same, I feel Square Enix did everything to improve everything else with this original title. I played this on the PS5 via digital download and found the graphics to be absolutely beautiful, nearly rivaling how great Final Fantasy VII Remake looked. The characters themselves have their detail increased greatly from the original, showing fantastic levels such as the individual spikes and blades of hair for Zack and Cloud, the depth of Aerith's emerald-colored eyes, and individual marks, scuffs, and lines to the Buster Sword. The battle gameplay actually moves more like Final Fantasy VII Remake's action RPG styling, for better and none the worse. The DMW is back, though thankfully Square Enix has made the various buffs and whatnot appear more often through it. They've also added an easier use of materia during battles via a shortcut hotkey-like system that moves much smoother than what was seen on the PSP version. There's also a couple additional nuances added for battles, such as a battle stance and proficiency once Zack acquires the Buster Sword. And most of the enemy stats are the same, save some changes in hard mode, like Super Boss Minerva's HP being increased from 20 million to 707,777 hit points. The music of the original game was decent. Many of the songs are riffs or remixes of original tracks from Final Fantasy VII. Newer songs were more ambient and somewhat forgettable to me, especially the often overplayed mission music. But the music itself got an upgrade from the original format in this remaster, and it sounds better than ever. The one original song that I felt was the best, and what I personally associate as Zack's theme, Wandering Under the Moonlight, sounds fantastic being redone. One of the two issues people have brought up with this remaster is the voiceovers. All of the voices have been redone with the current generation of voice actors from Final Fantasy VII Remake, reprising their roles for Crisis Core Reunion. While some of the voicing sounds different, in no way does it sound worse for the wear. Great standouts in this include Brianna White reprising Aerith and Kaylee Mills as new character Cisne. They gave Zack's love interest, and would-be love interest, great life, marrying the thematic of the story with these characters quite well. The other controversial issue is the quality of the original CG movies that were interspersed throughout the remaster. It doesn't appear Square did a lot to improve the quality of these, and honestly I felt the non-CG scenes looked just a bit better than these, funny enough. If I gave the original PSP version a 7 out of 10, I'd give this remaster an 8 out of 10. So much of the game has been improved upon that this is an absolutely definitive way to play this game. While I played it on the PS5, I also did buy a physical version for the Switch. That version runs pretty well, although there's some slowdown and frame dips, though I was surprised how well the game looks for a chipset that's from back in 2015. I just couldn't miss playing this beautifully looking game in 4K and 60 FPS, and thus I'm glad I got the PS5 version as well. Square Enix most likely released this remaster due to the surprisingly prominent role Zack played at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake and its DLC, Intergrade. I believe this is setting up the next iteration, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, with Zack having a much larger role in it. It was great to play Crisis Core again, shedding a tear for the loss of a number of great heroes from within it, and it allowed me to dream what sort of reunion Zack could potentially have with Aerith and Rebirth. Have you played Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core before, or this new remaster? Does this game strike your fancy at all if you haven't? Let me know in the comments section below.
I'm back!
Please like and subscribe and ring that bell for new content. Thanks for watching and have a good day.